Okay, so picture this, right? You're online, about to buy, I don't know, let's say a new coffee maker. You've done your research, you're ready to click add to cart, and then you see it.
The dreaded negative review.
Exactly. And suddenly you're questioning everything. It's like, do I really need that fancy latte function anyway?
Happens to the best of us. It's human nature to look for those social cues. We want to know what other people think before we take the plunge.
Totally. And that, my friend, is why we're diving deep into the world of online reputation. I'm your host, and joining me again today is, well, you know who you are, our resident expert.
Always happy to be here, ready to unpack this critical topic.
So this deep dive is all about managing your brand's reputation online. And the source material we're looking at today claims that a whopping 90% of consumers are influenced by online reviews. I mean, 90%, that's wild, right?
It's a staggering statistic, no doubt. But it really highlights just how important it is for businesses and even individuals to be mindful of their digital footprint these days.
For sure. So let's break down some key takeaways. The source lays out 5 essentials for reputation management. First up, knowing what customers see when they look for you online, right?
It might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many businesses don't actually Google themselves regularly. It's like step one.
Yeah, it's like checking your reflection before a big date. You want to make sure you're putting your best foot forward.
Exactly. And sometimes that means addressing negative content head on or showcasing the positive.
Which leads us to our next point, visibility. You could have the greatest product or service out there, but if nobody can find you online, what's the point, right?
Right, you got to stand out. And this is where having a strong online presence comes into play. We're talking website, social media, maybe even some strategic online advertising.
It's all about meeting your target audience where they are, which
Oh.
could be Facebook, Instagram, you name it.
And speaking of engagement, how important is it to actually interact with your audience online? I mean, should you be responding to every single review that comes in? Well, you don't necessarily have to craft a novel in response to every comment, but engaging with your audience is crucial, especially those negative reviews.
Because
Because it shows you're listening, you're responsive, and you genuinely care about what your customers have to say. Responding thoughtfully, maybe even offering a solution, can actually turn a negative experience into a positive one.
Okay, I like that. Now, the source also talks about the importance of crisis prevention. What exactly does that mean in the context of online reputation?
It's about getting ahead of potential issues before they even become problems. Think of it like putting out a small fire before it turns into a five-alarm blaze.
So, like monitoring social media for any negative chatter about your brand, maybe addressing customer concerns proactively?
Exactly. That's a perfect example. And it doesn't just prevent headaches down the road.
Yeah.
It can actually save you money too.
Speaking of money, our source threw out a pretty compelling stat. Apparently, 68% of consumers are willing to pay more, like a solid 15% more, for a better experience.
It's incredible, right? That's the power of a stellar reputation. People are literally willing to put their money where their trust is.
That's huge. It's like investing in a good reputation is actually investing in your bottom line. And here's another stat that really drives home the point. 91% of consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. Isn't that wild?
It's mind-blowing, right? But it just goes to show how much weight these online interactions carry. They're essentially word-of-mouth referrals for the digital age.
It's like digital word of mouth, you know? And before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on something that really got me thinking. This whole time we've been talking about businesses, right? But what about individuals? How can we apply these reputation essentials to our own online presence?
That's a really interesting question. We're all essentially our own personal brands these days, right? So much of our lives play out online. It's definitely something to consider.
For sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But if you're looking to learn even more about managing your online reputation, our source recommends checking out leveragereputation.com. They've got a free guide you can download and even a reputation report card.
Sounds like a good place to start.
Absolutely. Until next time.